All right, welcome to the Robert Show. Super excited to be back, and I know it's still. I can't believe Jan is already over, and we are in Feb, and there have been some interesting announcements by companies that they're doing. And today, obviously, I'm excited because I am seeing this big announcement coming from Glean company, and I couldn't do it without an interviewing or getting someone from Glean to talk about it. So, as you've now understood what the topic is about, today we have a very special guest, an experienced leader in the space of data and AI, Tamar, who looks after the products at Glean. I'm excited to chat with her about some major announcements that they've made today, and that could actually change how enterprises use AI. So I'm excited about that. They've just to give you a little bit of sneak peek, we'll be discussing big moves that Glean is making in agent works, universal knowledge, and AI agents that anyone, not just the developers, can build and deploy. So I'm excited to chat about that. But without any further ado, I think it's time for us to bring up Tamar on the stage and discuss about these announcements. Let's do it. One, two, three, go. Tamar, welcome to the Robert Show. Such a pleasure to host you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm excited, as you can see, obviously, with my energy, because I know for a fact that y'all have made some great announcements. So I'm excited to learn about that. But before we get into the announcements, before we get into the environment of AI agents and all of those things, would you like to quickly introduce yourself? Tell us also about what Glean does.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I can tell your energy. I can see your energy. It's wonderful. So
Yeah.
as you mentioned, I lead product and technology at Glean. Previously at Slack and at Google. And when I was at Google, I actually knew Arvind Jain, the founder and
Yes.
CEO of Glean. So that's kind of my path to Glean. And what is Glean? For those of you who don't know it, Glean is a work AI platform. We started
Mm.
as enterprise search, crawling all of the information of your organization and being able to find anything and answer any questions. And
Right.
then as LLMs took off and as the technology progressed, we are now a complete work AI platform. But what's different about Glean is we understand everything about your organization because we have seen and read all the documents, all the conversations,
Mm.
all of your CRM data, so that we can have a conversation with you and we can provide more information and enable you to work on top of the context of your organization. That's what's special about Glean.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. So coming back to the big news, Tamar, I know you'll have made some big news and announcements today. So talking about, I just gave a quick sneak peek to our audience as well before bringing you up here was about agent work. So can you break down what agent works is and why it's big deal for the enterprises out there?
Yeah. So we are launching Agent Work. So people first may ask, what is an agent? Because everybody is using agents in SaaS right now. But what exactly do we mean by an agent?
Right.
And an agent, I think everyone in the industry is converging around. An agent is something that automates work for you, that
Right.
it is multiple calls to an LLM. It's just not a simple question of information seeking. It's multiple calls and it takes an action and it can be automated. So it automates more substantial amount of work for you. So if you think, as I was saying, the progression of Glean, starting with just answering a question, and then you got to summarizing documents and being able to create answers, and then you go to automating work. And how do you automate work? With agents. So what does Agents Works do? It's a
Mm.
platform that first enables you in natural language to specify a goal that is a
Right.
complex goal. So not a simple thing, not just like who is the account executive on this account, but something more complex that has multiple steps involved. And those steps can include searching the web, getting
Right.
information about the world, and getting information about your organization. And because we have that information, we understand the processes in your organization. We understand the tools you use. We
Right.
can take that complex uh, instruction and goal in natural language, break it down to steps execute those steps. So that is the natural language part. And then the complexity of the agentic reasoning is being able to come up with a plan, knowing what tools we need to call in order to execute that on that plan, and then be able to take action. And the last part of that is an agent library. So we want to, one of the things that we find with AI in organizations, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more as well, people aren't quite sure what to do with it. What can it do? What can it do? So an agent library is a big part of this, coming out with here are things that you can do on our platform.
That's fantastic. I think that it could be definitely a game changer for all the enterprise leaders. I know off air I was telling you, it has been like in the last 2 years, I've spoken to so many enterprise leaders and they kind of, want to always figure out the best ways to get into the AI. Like, even if it's implementation, they would take their time, but then when there's something new, they always feel the excitement and they want to actually see what's the best in the space. And it looks like y'all have taken your time into building up the agents as well, and agent work kind of looks pretty interesting to me. So let's see how that goes, but I'm also curious to learn a little about, because I know Glean is kind of emphasizing on horizontal AI agents. Now, I obviously have a question. How is this different from the ones traditional AI assistants that we've kind of seen, or even the automation tools? How does it kind of differ from those?
So Glean is a horizontal platform in that it works for every line of business. So
Hmm.
any person in an organization can take advantage of it. It's not just for engineers or just for salespeople or just for marketing people. It's for anyone, because if you think about the way you want to automate work, everybody has tasks they want to automate. And if they could just tell the AI how to automate them.
Right.
So it is that cross section. So we find when people ask a question on Glean, it crosses at least 3 data sources. And
Hmm.
because you want to go across, and let's say you're a marketing person who wants to understand the status of an account, you're going to want to
Right.
understand what Jira tickets may be open for that account. In the same way that an engineer will want to know what Jira tickets are open for an account or for a specific issue that's happening. So we provide all of this information to
Right.
everyone across. And that's what's a big differentiator of Glean, the depth we can go into across everything. And
Hmm.
then the agents that you create, they may they might want to span functions as well. So you're not siloed into one area of the organization.
That's pretty cool. I think that is something which is what I like as well, because as a creator, influencer, press, media, whatever people call us, but then we kind of, obviously in the small business that we have, we've been kind of wanting to do so much of automation that goes into the play. Talk about creating a newsletter or sending it out, and even pulling information. I think tools like Glean could actually be a game changer, not only just for from a perspective of content creation or automating the content that we are creating, but otherwise as well. I think in various department, it can actually play a very important role. It could be HR as well, if I'm not wrong, Tamar.
Exactly. So we have people who are already creating agents in Glean because we've had this pieces of this functionality out for a long time. We work
Nice.
very closely with our customers. We're in beta with many of our customers, and some of the functionality has been out and people have been using. For example, we'll find companies creating an HR bot or an HR agent where they define, here is the information that we want our employees to look at, and here are
Hmm.
the actions they can take based on that information. So you can
Okay.
say, what is our vacation policy? And then you
Yeah.
can actually file your vacation based on
Yeah.
that policy just in the Glean interface.
Okay. So there are, obviously from what I'm kind of hearing is y'all have kind of researched it well in terms of, obviously the different industries and their needs as well. But the agents kind of do their work and kind of, obviously act on its own understanding. And that's about being agents being intelligent. So that's pretty cool. I'm kind of also curious to learn about also something that you introduced, like Glean also introduced what it calls is like universal knowledge, right? So kind of wanting to know, why does this matter? What's the real impact on how people would work? How does it kind of just trying to understand the dynamics of how that works.
So Glean has always focused on unstructured data. Unstructured data is your documents in Google, Microsoft,
Right.
Slack conversations, Teams conversations. And so now what we're announcing is the ability to work on structured data as well. So whether
Right.
it's from Salesforce or Jira or Databricks, we can integrate structured data into your agents and into
Nice.
your queries. So you can ask questions that straddle the structured and unstructured data. And in addition, we're announcing the ability to do a web search from Glean. So if you have an agent that you want to build that needs universal knowledge, it needs world knowledge, or needs a real-time web search, that is now a part of an agent that you can build. So for example, I would like to research a new customer that I'm about to meet with. And then
Okay.
I can say, what is the latest news from this customer? So let's say it's somebody like Zillow. What is the latest news on Zillow? What is their stock price? What
Yeah.
is what are they talking about in their AI initiatives? Read all of
Yeah.
the web to talk about their AI initiatives. And then I can say, and then find similar customers who are already customers of Glean that are similar to Zillow and have had a similar type of trajectory that we have sold. How did we sell them? What messaging did we use? And was that successful? So that can be like one agent that you can just write the goal and it will do all of those different pieces. It will look at the web to find information. It will look in your CRM to find similar customers. It will then be able to look at all your internal documents to say, how did you win those customers? And then give you an answer.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So what I'm kind of hearing is basically with the universal knowledge, now it kind of gives me insights into not only just competitors, not only just understanding what my prospects might be talking about, but also understanding the gaps that they are wanting to fill, and how does, say, Glean kind of, if you Glean is me, obviously, how does Glean kind of fit into their AI strategy as well, is what I can
Yeah.
get into a report.
That you could get into one agent. And if you most
Wow.
people when they're asking something at work, they want to find the information that's in their organization, but then they have that question that's also just a search that they want to incorporate into that.
Right.
Like I said, like, what was the latest news? Was there something that is in the news that I should know about before I go and meet this executive? Were they in the news? And so
Right.
instead of having to go to Glean and having to go to search, you can do it with one agent, find one summary. So it saves you a lot of time to going to all these different sources. And
Hmm.
you'll find information that you might not have found otherwise. So this is a big one that like our sales team internally has been using, has been building agents for helping them. And
Exactly.
that's been super cool.
Wow, this is actually very interesting because it looks like you said, obviously, just in your previous answer, I think you mentioned about this. We creating this for everyone. It is like when you talk about horizontal AI agents, it is for everyone to build and utilize that agents into their business. So I can totally see that. Talking about building, Tamar, what I kind of feel interesting is I know you all have also mentioned in your press, obviously you all have mentioned that this will be actually possible for anyone to make, like anyone, as in I'm kind of thinking about, it's not only just the developers work anymore, but anyone who actually works in this space and even does not have a technical knowledge. What do you have to say about that? How does that work? Is that a possibility for real? Like tomorrow, if I like just say after a call, I go out and start working on Glean's agent and want to create the Ravit Show agent where people can go and learn about, okay, find me a conversation with Glean that Ravit had, and they'll actually get all the information, not the video, but then the information about what we spoke, maybe in a transcript. Is that a possibility for me to create something like that?
So You already can do that today on Glean. People can create agents themselves and have been using it. So the example I gave earlier of the HR agent, an HR person could say,
Right.
here are the canonical documents that I want you to look at. Here's when something like this would trigger, and here's the
Right.
actions you could take. We're just enhancing it to make it a lot more functionality. So you will
Mm,
be able to write in natural language what you would like it to do, and then it creates a plan for you that then you can go edit and tweak and say,
mm,
yes, that was right, because it might take a couple iterations to get it exactly right. And so
right.
somebody inside an organization can create those agents. So if you have somebody who's working with you on the Ravi show and wants to say, or you yourself wants to summarize all of the conversations that you had and say, oh, who should I interview next? Here are all the people I've interviewed. Who are the experts in these areas that say similar things or complement the people. So it would be
Right.
for you internally to write and use, but you will be able to do it in natural language. I think
Mm,
it's absolutely, we've been very, very focused on simplicity that
nice.
you can, we started out with iterations that were more complicated and we're like, no, natural language is the way to go for this and break it
Yeah.
down, but then enable you to make changes. So after it breaks it down, you could go in and make slight changes if it's not doing exactly what you want. And
Mm,
what we found is the hardest thing is that people don't, especially people who are new to AI, don't understand what it can and can't do. And so
right.
don't even think of the ideas of what it could do for them. And that's the biggest barrier is the empty chat box of like, okay, what should I put in here? And
Yeah.
not really having a concept of this is the information that Glean has and could do. So that's why the agent library is so important. And we've got out in production a prompt library for simple prompts. And this is
Nice.
what we'll be doing is giving you an agent library so you can get
Nice.
started with something. And then that gives you ideas of either take them exactly as they are from the library, think of them as templates in other SaaS apps, or you can use that and make a copy. And that enables you to kind of build from there instead of starting from the blank chatbot.
Yeah, no, I love it 100%. If in that case where we get, and that has been a challenge earlier as well, that uh not only just with obviously the enterprise leaders, but if there's something, a starting point as well, which is about the agent library that you're kind of talking, and we kind of get to learn from the prompts that are already present, we kind of get the understanding how it kind of operates, because sometimes it's about the starting point, you get it, and then you understand how it kind of operates, how it can be tweaked, how it can understand what you're trying to get out of it, can be definitely a game changer. So thanks for sharing that. I'm kind of also curious, since we are on this topic of obviously AI. It's the talk of the town. When I talk to a lot of enterprise leaders, if they understand everything, they kind of go back to they kind of come back to me and ask me that, Ravit, when you talk about AI agents as well, or AI, for us the biggest concern, say, sometimes they are from finance industry, sometimes they are from healthcare industry, and the biggest challenge, and I'm pretty sure, Tamar, you talk to all of these regulated industries a lot, and the thing that they would talk to you is, okay, you can do everything great, Glean is the product for us, but then now we want to also learn about how is it about when it comes to security, trust, how are you all addressing these top concerns when it comes to AI. So how are you guys doing it differently? How are you all planning to scale AI safely? And that's, I'm pretty sure you get a lot of these questions too, Tamar.
Yeah, it's a great question. When we go into a large organ, most of our customers are large organizations, and you go
Yeah,
talk to
exactly.
the CISO, they don't come and say, "Great, we love the fact that you're going to scan and crawl every single document that we have." So I recently talked to a CISO who's like, "I get it. I get that this is a business need. We have to figure out how to make it work," and
True.
that was very enlightened. And but it's something that we take very seriously, and from the start we put security and governance and in the front seat from the time that Glean started as enterprise search, because we knew if an organization was trusting us to crawl all their data, we needed to adhere to all the permission. So we make sure that we understand the permission models of every SaaS tool. And if I'm in HR and you're in engineering and I'm writing a document about the next riff, you're not going to have access. If you don't have access to that document, you won't get access to it. So
Right.
we take that very seriously. But then CISOs come back to us and say, I don't trust the permissions that are in our organization. I don't think all the documents are locked down as they are. So we have
Yeah.
a data governance layer that we
Mm,
enable companies to say, here are the kind of documents that should be in your index, and here are the things that shouldn't. And what we're announcing as well is significant enhancements to our AI governance. So now you'll be able to, as a Glean administrator, you'll be able to say, here's the kind of data that I never want anybody to be exposed to. And we will find instances of when that may be uh, not locked down in the way you want, and you can remediate it. So we'll have real-time scanning so that
nice.
we will show that to you, and you can say, never make that accessible through Glean. So we have
Mm,
significant enhancements in our data governance, and we are announcing an open partner program with the leaders in AI security and governance. So we are going to be partnering with the best in class for AI governance against malicious code injection, prompt injection, and safety overall. So you can use our functionality in addition to partnering with this platform of all of the best in class AI governance products. So we're really excited about that.
I love it. That is something, and definitely a big move that y'all are making, to making sure where enterprise leaders kind of have that, that security issues that we all are solving at such a good level, and then having like a governance layer in place could actually, maybe that was the missing piece for a lot of companies that they were looking at, and you all have done it, you all have cracked it pretty well. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Tamar. I'm kind of also, since we are on this topic, and it's one of my most interesting topics, because I talk to a lot of enterprise leaders and they come back and we talk about various things, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to definitely ask, even the players who are building companies like Glean are actually, y'all are at the forefront for a lot of enterprises out there, and y'all are doing such great work. So my understanding, and often I've also seen companies kind of struggle with having like full AI pilots to full adoption. Like they kind of go into, sometimes it's about the POC, and then 6 months later they're like, we still working on it. Sometimes it's more than 6 months, a year, but it doesn't and then we are in that fast paced AI innovations as well, right? So I'm kind of wanting to understand, how does Glean kind of help those biggest blockers, to get through those biggest blockers for these companies, and how are you all solving that problem for having like that full adoption, where now you have this full adoption from Glean, and y'all are using it, and y'all are actually getting a good ROI, or your productivity has gone from 5x to maybe 7x, 10x, something like that.
That is such a great question. And we had our customer advisory board meeting
Right.
last week with a bunch of our very, very large customers, CIOs from large
Cool.
customers, and our champions. And one of them said last year was about tons of POCs, that
True.
most of them didn't show up in production. This year is about taking a couple of horizontal solutions and going deep with them. So I
Mm,
would say that there's a couple of issues that people run into when I talk to the probably similar people that you're talking to. So issue number one is it doesn't work. They install the AI and the promise that was on the website or the marketing materials they are not seeing.
mm,
Problem two is security and governance. They just can't get past the security reviews. And
right.
problem three is just the deployments are there's too heavy, too bespoke. It's in order to get to something working. So I think the way to solve these is one, be very clear on the value you're providing
Right.
and make sure that you deliver on that value. So you have to know a lot of the stuff we work with small design partners, even on new features, to make sure that they're working. Like even the AI governance, we've been working super closely with some very large customers. We're like, this
Right.
is what we need from AI governance, and we've been kind of developing all the features that we're launching with them. And I think that's
Mm,
a really important point, making sure that it works for them. Same with
exactly.
the agent workflow. So make sure that you understand that value, that you can measure that value for the customer. So every POC we do, we have some type of measurement at the end of the POC to make sure that they're getting the value that they need. So, and then on the deployment, so the deployments is key, that it's mainly automated. You tell us what data sources you want to crawl, and we crawl those data sources, we run our ML pipelines, and then it's up and running. So it does take a little bit of time to do the crawling if you're a very large customer and have a lot of data, but it's a very clear, it's not a 6-month implementation of trying
Oh,
to tweak for the organization. It's crawl your data and you'll be up and running. And so we know how to get a proof of concept up and running quickly. So that's really important, that it isn't bespoke work for every customer to get up and running. And then, of course, security, I already talked about, but we take the security reviews very seriously, and we make sure that we have good answers. So, for example, we have all of the data for every customer is hosted in a single tenant architecture, and we will allow you to host the data in your VPC if you want. So you can use our SaaS offering, or we will host it on your cloud project, which is very important for a lot of our large customers, that the data never leaves their cloud project. So things
exactly.
like this, our security posture is very geared towards large enterprises.
I think that's one big problem for a lot of enterprises out there, that they want to, make sure where it's fixed in the first place. We don't have to worry about our data. It's not going anywhere. It's sitting there, and it's all governed. All safety is in place, and we can scale on AI, and obviously use AI with much more confidence. And I think a lot of enterprises are already doing that from Glean's end. We've kind of obviously seen all of those things, so which is pretty cool. Shifting gears a little bit here, Tamar, I know those are fantastic insights, what you've shared. I'm kind of also wanting to learn a little about the AI agents in the workplace, right? So that's something which is pretty important. I know Glean mentioned about, saying that 2024 was making employees more productive with AI, but 2025 will be about working differently with AI. And how do you see that shift actually happening, and how does it look like? So kind of curious to know a little about that.
Yeah, what we saw is 2024 people, as we said, were trying it out, and I'm an individual contributor, and I'm going to get AI curious, let's say.
Right.
And I'm going to go try to, instead of writing a blog post from scratch, I'm going to use Glean to pull in all of the design documents from the engineering team and do a first draft of the blog post. So it's saving those incremental bits of something that I was doing, but now I'm going to do a little faster. And
Hmm.
now in 2025, with everyone going into agents and multiple calls and actions being taken, what you're going to see is changing how people work, as opposed to making what you were doing a little faster. Everybody gives the analogy of mobile. When mobile started, you had desktop websites that were just shrunk and put on a
Right.
mobile phone. And then you got like Uber and DoorDash and Airbnb. You got things that were just more focused on, on the go, being able to do things on your phone. So think of it like that, that now it'll be business processes. So for example, one that I love is no PM can listen to every customer call. So what would a PM do? They would pick and choose, and they would go meet with a customer. But now with agents, you can say, here is, point the agent to 1,000 recorded customer calls, whether you're using Gong or Zoom or whatever it is. Point the agent, say, here's all of 1,000 calls, listen to all of them, summarize them, put in a
Wow.
spreadsheet. Here are the top asks. Here are the customers that asked for them. And here is the Glean AE or CSM who was on that call. And then you have this spreadsheet. So it's something that you couldn't do before. It would just be
Right.
impossible. And it's just so cool to think about how you can do things like this that enable you to do more and be able to move faster.
Yeah, it's also, obviously, first of all, great insights. I feel kind of there have, and then the automation piece also kind of comes into the game, where now you can start responding, now you can start creating emails, now you can start creating a plan altogether, you can create different things for the clients as well. It is awesome to what level we have kind of reached as well in AI, and we keep moving, and Glean is kind of making that difference for the folks in the workplace as well. So, which is fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. I'm kind of also curious, since we are on this topic, one big thing for a lot of folks out there, even practitioners, enterprise leaders, is about the agentic reasoning. And I know for a
Mhm.
fact where Glean kind of focuses a lot on agentic reasoning. You all kind of make sure that it makes everyone feel more and more confident about the AI agents. So I'm kind of curious to learn from you. What does that mean to you, and how is it going to be a game changer in the AI agent at work? How does that look like?
I think that it's a game changer because you can do one step, get output, remember that, feed that into the next step, and then keep going. And not everything is an LLM call. Some of
Right,
it's a web search call or a Glean search call, or you look at people like who is the expert on this. Oh, Ravid is the expert for this feature. So I should make sure that I ask him, or what were the documents that he wrote on this feature, because Glean can say he is the expert. So it
right,
blends in multiple different tools to get to what you want. And that's the power of agents, understanding which tools to use, what the
mm,
input is, how to chain them together, and then
nice,
to be able to take an action, but to be able to take an action safely. Like, we don't just send an email on your behalf. We will open up your email client and say, here's the email, click send. So the human is still in the loop to make sure we got it right in complicated flows. So you want to make sure, like, we'll put things in a spreadsheet for you, but we
right,
want to be careful to or post on LinkedIn. Here's this thing that I created a social media post, and you still have to click post. But
right.
that's what to me is exciting, is it's so much more powerful that you
Powerful.
can string these tools together, and we keep adding new tools all the time.
Yeah. One quick follow-up question on this, Tamar. What I'm hearing is, obviously context is everything here, and uh, I'm kind of wanting to also know, how do you make sure that the Glean's agents truly understand, say, a company's data or people, or even the workflows, rather than being just a generic AI tools? Because, to be honest, I have kind of tried my hands on various tools that you can think of for transcripting, for creating messaging, and because we are in that world of media where we need to create so much of content that needs to go out. So how is Glean kind of truly making the agent understand about all of these things?
I
Curious.
think that is one of our big differentiators, is that we will crawl all of your data and we
Mhm.
will put it in an index. And our team who is doing the ranking all came from the Google ranking team. So we
Wow.
understand how to rank disparate, heterogeneous types of content. We get a
Right.
lot of signals from that content, how it's being used. We also know who are your peers, who you report to, who's in your team. So we know what documents your team is looking at. So we have signals about the people, we have signals about the activity, about proximity, and we understand the synonyms. We have a knowledge graph of your organization that says, here are the entities that you're talking to. So we've spent basically 5 years building up this system of being able to crawl an index and understand it, so we know which content to give to the LLM in
Hmm.
the in that context. So that's a really important part, is how do we know, if you're an organization that has thousands, hundreds of thousands of documents, how do you know what's relevant for that query? And that's what our focus is on, making sure that we have that information and we know when to surface it.
It is definitely one of the biggest challenge that I've kind of seen, even using different tools. Like, even I would use it not for, obviously, a lot more in depth as compared to what the enterprises are using, but still at a level where sometimes you kind of feel that, okay, this response could have been better. Now let's go out and find out in terms of ranking. But you have to dig deeper into it. But looks like you all have made it easier, where at the same time it kind of ranks those important and prioritizes what you actually want to see and what kind of is super relevant to what you're kind of asking. and makes a lot of difference for sure. So thanks for sharing that. I know we're almost time, but I can go on for next hour and chat about so many different things, Tamar. And congrats on all the great announcements that you all have made. For sure. One question that I have for you is also about the next phase of AI in workplace. What do you think about it? What excites you?
What excites me is how much more productive people are going to be. So if you
Right.
think of what is the things that people don't like doing, the repetitive tasks that are what people call toil, I think
Yeah.
that we're going to see a world where a lot of the toil goes away and people will be able to focus on the creative aspects of the work as
Very true.
opposed to I'm copying and pasting this into a spreadsheet or I'm creating, listening to this and creating the spreadsheet, which is not the kind of work that people want to do. So I think it will make people happier in their work because a lot of these rote tasks will go away. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. And that's so true. You've kind of, even thought about the smallest thing, but then it can go up it can go up at various levels when we kind of, are doing and using agents. So that's exciting. Thanks for sharing that. One last question for our audience, and I promise this is the last one. That is about if folks want to reach out to you, learn more about the different things that you're doing, which is the best place to follow you? LinkedIn, Twitter, where like X, wherever you are most active.
LinkedIn for me, definitely follow. You can follow the announcements and then follow Glean's account on both
Nice.
X and LinkedIn because we make lots of announcements about things coming and it's a fun one to follow. So either Glean or myself, Tamar Yoshua on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. Thanks, Tamar, for sharing all the great insights and also visiting the Ravit Show. It's such a pleasure to host you today and getting all the insights firsthand from someone who's actually building it and, obviously putting it out there for those larger enterprise leaders. I'm pretty sure today my audience is super happy. All those enterprise leaders who have been asking me so many questions, I kind of get to answer them, but then not at this level because you guys are really building it. So that's awesome. Thanks once again for visiting the Ravit Show. Hope you enjoyed it and definitely we'll do a 2.0 very soon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Such a pleasure.